Hello Heart to Heart Podcast เองนักคุยกันจากน้าไปปานจะชอบเป็นฮัสเซ why did I say that in Chin? This podcast is gonna be in English because there's certain audience that we want to reach out to, and especially to this Gen Z, the next generation of people. And so here I have Beth. She is she loves God, and she's a pastor daughter. I've known her ever since she was very young. You and your sister, your brother too, and it has been great knowing you. And she is also working with Grace in Valleys, and Women Bible Study, and a bunch of things. That's a good ministry that's thriving right now, and God is using her. And why don't I let her introduce herself? And I'm just happy to have her with me and to have this conversation with her.
Okay. Well, hello, everyone. I would first like to say I'm very honored to be here. I follow your guys' podcast. And I will, every time, like even with my mentees, every time we talk about like mentorship or people that have helped me in my spiritual walk, Pastor Van is someone who I always mention. Obviously we live at different states, so it's not necessarily like consistent mentorship, but every conversation we have, I always take something away. And so I'm just very honored to be here, and that's really it. And we're just here to have honest heart-to-heart conversations.
That's right.
Yep.
I mean, what's the point of having heart-to-heart conversation podcast without having the heart-to-heart conversation?
Yeah.
So
that should be a t-shirt.
I think so.
Your guys' new merch. Yeah.
We have to come up with that. I'll talk to Tata about that. This is how we do. Tata and I, sometimes we see each other, and she'll come visit Chicago, and we do podcasts. But also, she also does her own thing. I also do my own thing, and then we come together and just release it. So, thank you for visiting Chicago. And let's talk about a few things that has been on your mind, maybe on my mind too, and maybe a lot of young people's mind, especially that is something related to ministry. So what do we have in mind today, Beth?
So something that's been in my heart, and also something that I feel like I've been seeing a lot, especially from the younger generation. I'm young, but I would say like people that are even younger than me that are very hungry and just, really thirsty for the word of God. I feel like there's just this distrust in spiritual leaders, especially I want to give the context of like our Chin community. So we're not talking about all spiritual leaders or people that we follow on like social media. I'm just talking about like in our Chin context. And obviously, at the end of the day, I think everyone has an understanding that leaders are not perfect, but, leaders are called, especially spiritual leaders, are called to a higher standard. So then when we don't see that as followers being met, I think there can be a lot of hurt, confusion, and even like making us stray away from God. And so I feel like, especially with everything that's been happening, I think there's just a lot of distrust in leaders. And so you're a pastor, you minister to so many young people, you travel everywhere. So I really would also want to hear from your perspective as a pastor. And like you're directly, when I say involved, like you directly, you go to camp conferences, you're part of all of these events. So that's what we're going to talk about.
Wow, that's a heavy topic, and that's kind of like elephant in the room. We'll kind of know what's going on with our own pastors or our Chin community is pretty small. Especially with our older pastors, the current pastor, the new pastors. There's something that we can always talk about in terms of distrust. Where does it come from? From maybe from a place where the pastors are not doing their job, and they're doing things that are not aligned with the Bible, or in local church kind of covered up, that kind of thing, So it's like, and I don't blame this Gen Z or the generation that is coming, because especially after Me Too movement, I think there's a lot of distrust already. And then finding out more things, or if something were to happen and that was covered up by the church, I think even make it worse. And I mean, generally, this generation don't really trust anybody.
Yeah, we have trust issues. We have daddy issues. We have all sorts of issues.
And I think spiritual leaders are supposed to set, like you said, a good standard and higher standard, and we are more accountable to our actions and our words. So I agree with you, and yeah, I mean, I would like to hear from you too, because I'm in this position, so I have a harder time understanding from what other people are viewing and seeing it. Like, and I don't you know, I don't hear that much tea anymore. So you guys talk about it, and you're living in it, and you are under some of the people's leadership or in their ministry, you know. So I feel like I can try to hear from you too.
Okay. Well, we're gonna get honest. Like, I want this to be an honest conversation.
Okay.
Obviously, even what I'm about to say, it's not an attack. If anything, we just want this to be an honest, open conversation in hopes to better our community.
That's right.
But I think, especially, let's just say in the like, we're just only going to talk about our Chin churches.
Let's do that.
Okay. So that it's easier to talk about. Yeah. I feel like in the Chin church, there's just been lack of accountability for not even just like, yes, for leaders, for our pastors, for people that are shepherding us, but also just as members. I know, like, Paul, when he writes to the Church of Acts, he talks a lot about like keeping each other accountability. And if we do look at the Bible, there is a biblical way to keep one another accountable. But I don't think like, obviously your personal life, like, I don't know if you practice that to whoever's watching us. It's also something I struggle with personally, but as a church, as a body of Christ, I feel like our Chin churches, we just don't do a good job at that.
Yeah.
And I mean, you've lived here in the earth longer than me. You're also a pastor. So I don't really know where it stems from. Like, I don't know the root. Is it like a cultural thing where we shy away from sharing people our burdens, our struggles, I guess our sins, right? Or even as leaders to be able to say, like, I need help. Like, I'm a leader. I'm your pastor, but I'm really struggling with this and I need help. Is it just because, like, no one says it? So then it becomes this effect of, like, all the new coming leaders, they just don't talk about it either? Or is it just because, I don't know, like, are we scared we're gonna get judged? Or are we scared to be vulnerable? Like, I don't really know what it is. But I think that's been what I've been seeing. And not just me, like, our friend groups, we would talk about it. And I hear the younger ones talking a lot about, like, well, I know that pastor did this. I know she did this. But why are they not addressing it, right? So, like, I guess lack of accountability. Maybe, like, where does that stem from? I don't know.
I think when I was taking Asian American ministry class, we talk about this a lot. And in the term and the culture, we call it saving face. And we want to save face. Because when we point out the sin of our leader, it doesn't just affect him, but it affects the whole church. So it doesn't just go by his name, it go by the whole church name. So we want to save face as much as we can. I think that's just a cultural thing. I don't think it's a biblical thing. What happened is that I don't think, I mean, I think I mentioned in TGM conference Dallas too that a church hide a lot of things and throw it under the rug and hide it and cover it, and so that the church save its face. By doing so, we are thinking we are saving Jesus' face. Jesus doesn't need any saving, but Jesus wants us to live the truth and tell us it is. That way we can be more healthier. But I think we keep on doing that. And we're not any better. And we don't become healthier. And the church look like it just try to save face in any possible way. And by doing so, we're not making disciples. And then when the younger ministers coming up, I think we just see that, well, that's how it is. So it should be fine with me. So it has been happening for a long time, since the Chin churches in Chin State, and then we're carrying out to here. The problem with here is that there are a lot of legal issue with some things that we put it under the rug. So yeah, by the grace of God, we're doing all right, but I don't think we're doing all right.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. There's really things. There are the things that the church should be protecting each other from and keeping each other accountable and saying, "Hey, that's not right," and we'll do that. But the problem more is this: we're all in a way related.
True. Everybody's somebody's cousin.
Yeah, everybody's somebody's uncle.
Yep.
And so, so by doing this to this person, there's a church members that relate to that person. True. Or that by doing this, so there's someone else in there. So when our family bond is too strong, instead of the Christ blood, his bond for us, I think there's a lot of problematic, because we just want to save face of our family too, not just the church, but also our own family. So I know there's people that I say, before you are cousins in blood, you are brother and sister in Christ.
Yes.
So we got to remember that, like Christ, like he is the center of all, and not our family, not our church, but his church, so, but I think it has been going on for a while, even before my time.
Yeah. So. I think adding on to let's put religion, church aside, I think just as a culture, we love family names. We love being able to say that family accomplished this, or that family is known for this. Yeah. And so because of those things, I think even just being able to admit that a married couple, they're having issues in their marriage, even being able to say that to the community, to one another, I think itself is already so hard. And then two is we love to gossip as a community. And because our church is so tied into our culture, we use our churches as a community center. Yeah, and so if someone openly talks about their marriage and their struggles, the whole church is going to know. So
yeah, but then even if they don't say it, the whole church knows anyways. That's the problem too. It's
we all know each other's business, but we don't address it.
Yeah. We don't want to talk about it explicitly. And also those people, even though they don't say about it, they don't talk about it, they kind of assume that people know it too. You know what I'm saying? They haven't even told the pastor yet, but by them telling a friend or another friend, they're expecting everyone else to know. That kind of mindset too. Yeah. But yet, by not addressing it, we kind of keeping it low key, and we don't want to embarrass anybody. Yeah. I think that's what we do. Yeah. I think it's a cultural thing, and I'm sure other churches do it too, but we're talking about Chin churches here. So, but as an Asian church, we do it more so than ever.
Yeah. Well, since we're talking about the word accountability, I would say I guess not even in your own words, what does accountability mean? Because we're using the word accountable, we have to, as Christians, we're called to keep one another accountable, but practically, how does that look like? So that's my first question that I want us to dive into. And then two, as a church, you have a church that you pastor. So right now in your church, let's say you just started a church. To make sure that your leaders and you guys are being held accountable, practically in a church, how would that look like? So one is in your personal life, how does accountability work? And as a church, how does that work?
Hey, I think this is it. Okay. I think accountability is taking responsible for your action. I think being responsible for whatever the action that you have committed, and that you are also committed to being challenged. You're also open to people giving you pouring themselves into you to give you ideas and rebukes. So I think that's what it is. So when I say accountability, let's say, have you prayed? Right? How's your prayer life? Just simply asking it. Even a question, it's hard. You know that in our church, we don't talk about those spiritual things, right? Right. Sometimes, I want to keep accountable to the church that I've been to, youth camp. And 1 week later, I was like, hey, have you guys done any follow-up? I was like, do you really keep up with your action or whatever that we talk about? Are you following it up? Are you taking responsibility of the souls of the youth? So I think that's what it is, being responsible for the action, open to rebuke, challenges, and growth. But in the churches, even to talk about spiritual things is like taboo, and leaders to ask, hey, how you been with your prayer? And it come out very rude too. Maybe we are going for somebody who never asked for accountability too. So I think let me just talk more into this culture then. Our Chin culture is that accountability is not really heard of. You do you, that kind of thing. And if I were to go into your space, I'm being rude. And even to rebuke you is something that I'm not welcome to do. That's what the feeling is. And so you have to be really careful even to rebuke or challenge somebody. So like, okay, how about this, right? One time somebody in my church, let's just say, a church didn't like how I call his name. I didn't know that. Okay. I didn't know that for like 4 or 5 years. I've been calling him that name. But that was like his full name. Oh, okay. 2 names. There's only 2 names. So I call him that. I just thought he was cool with that. And apparently he was not cool with that. And one day he called me and he was trembling. He was like, Siavan, like, I just want to call you and tell you about something. I was like, okay, like, go ahead. I was so ready to hear it. But he was like, but like, don't take it the wrong way. I like you as a pastor and everything. I was like, it's all right. Like, just tell me. Like, I am ready to hear anything from you, And he's like, I don't like how you call my name. I was like, I thought it was something else. Right. I thought it was something bad. And he was like, can you just call me like this? I was like, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I was so worried. I was like, is there something that I did wrong? But like, even to that challenge, he would talk for 5 to 10 minutes, covering himself beforehand. And so what I'm trying to say is like, even to keep me accountable as a member, to say what he wants to say, like he has to set it up for like 5 to 10 minutes first to talk to me that way. And I was like, why? Like, bro, like as simple as even in church, like, hey, Siavan, can you just call me with this name, please? Like, I'll take it. But our Chin community sometimes it's just like something that to challenge a pastor, authority, somebody to correct them. I know like some people have a pastor over and he will say wrong things and they really want to say something back, but they held it back. Yeah. So I think that authority has been given too high of a value, and they look like unapproachable. They look like unreproachable. I don't know what that word is, like reproachable. They're not that. So it is so hard to go in that manner. Even if I were to, like, let's just say we were asking a hypothetical question, right? If I were to plant a church or start a new church, and to keep me and the leaders keep each other accountable, we would talk about it. But to really do it practically, they're going to have such a hard time. Yeah. But as me growing up here, I would do it. But once they stop doing it to me, I'm going to feel bad. And I'll stop doing it too. If that makes sense. That makes sense. Because you have to go both ways. So I think our culturally, it's not giving. But of course, this talk is like, hey, how can we do it better? Yeah. Maybe not our older generation, but maybe starting our generation and younger, right? How can we do it better? Because like this is we live in different culture. Between culture, we're living here, and we're bridging the gap between the previous generation and this generation. So we do have to do better for the next. If that makes sense to you.
No, that makes sense. I think. Well, even with your member, I'm sure that took a lot of courage for him. Because like you said, I think, okay, so in our Chin community, just because we're so small, like the people that we do respect, I would say the type of people that are most respected are our spiritual leaders, our pastors. Yeah. And which like like as we should, because they are servants of God. Like they are held to a higher standard. We should respect them. But I think we like idolize you guys. Like we idolize our pastors. Like we kind of almost see you guys as like God.
Nah.
No, like I'm saying this as like a member where that's why I think when pastors do fail or fall, we get so hurt because we had this like, my pastor is this and this, so much like just very high expectation. And also with accountability, there was never accountability, right? And so then when we do see our pastors falling short, instead of seeing them as like, oh wait, at the end of the day, yeah, they're my pastor, but he's also a human being. Like we don't see that anymore. We just say he's a pastor. Like how could he fall into this? Blah, 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 So I think that's also one thing. But on the second thing you're the pastor, so you could probably speak on this better. But I think, like you said, there's just no accountability. So it's so easy for pastors to just be free, like to be free. And then I think because, and I can see not just pastors, leaders, like anyone, when we get promoted at a job, we feel that like, okay, like I'm it now. Or it's so easy to, I guess, like demand respect when you've always gotten respect. Like it's so easy to be comfortable in what you've been receiving. And I think maybe, I don't want to speak for their pastor's heart. I'm not saying all pastors are like this, but even just as leaders, anyone, we can so fall into that of like, well, we're just so used to being treated right, being pampered everywhere we go, everywhere we travel. Everyone sees us as like, like they treat us so well. And I think it's so easy to get used to that. And then on top of that, there's no accountability. So then there's just so much freedom for the pastor. And if at the end of the day, you guys are human beings too, like you guys can fall into sin. And sin is something that as a Christian, like we're always going to struggle with. So I think that's why too, where it's like just no accountability. And maybe you can also speak on like, since you travel a lot, like I'm sure you haven't really had like a bad experience, or maybe you've had where, when you do travel, I'm sure they treat you really well. Like I'm sure they have really good hospitality, and then maybe you're used to that.
Some.
Okay, most hopefully.
Yes.
And so like, so far you haven't failed. We're going to pray for you. But like, can you see how leaders could fall into that? Do you know what I mean?
This is nothing new. It's not just for Chin Church. It's for all like American churches. Like we've been hearing left and right, like the people that we really, really look up to on how they do ministry and how they fall. It has been such sad news. So I think traveling. So since you've been talking so much about traveling, yes, I sometimes feel very respected and loved at a church that's not mine. Because yes, I am the guest, and they try their best to show hospitality, and our Chin people are really good at hospitality, and I love that about our community. Okay, and once you come home and you don't get the same respect that you receive, it's like there's kind of like lagging and missing something, and so. And you kind of want that attention, you want that respect. And the Bible does command us to honor our leaders, to pray for them, and to respect them. And I think what you say about idolizing, I think, it does come with any sort of authority figure. I think we end up idolizing anyone who's above us. And in the Chin community too, like you said, it's so hard to be vulnerable as a leader. So if you go and listen to any sermons that our Chin pastor preach, you don't hear much about their weakness. Even the evangelists, even the pastors, they don't really talk about their personal stuff because they don't want to be judged by it, and because we don't know how to listen as members, right? We'll be like, oh, pastor being vulnerable, wow, I'm so touched. We don't do that. We're like, oh, wow, him
we're gonna
too?
talk about that. We're like, yeah,
and then we make fun of in the meeting.
Yeah.
And so after being hurt so many times, I think they closed the door too. So here, man, let's speak the truth, right? That's being honest. And I have heard like, something that I said, like pull it back to me, and I'm like, you don't do that, So anyways, so then like it's so hard to be vulnerable as a pastor. So even in their weakness, in their times that they feel have struggled, I don't think they like opening that too as well. So on top of that, now you become a pastor. Now you get to travel. Everyone seems to follow you and like you.
Yeah.
Then your head is like over, right?
Really
You are
big.
over your head. You're over your head. And okay, let's talk it this way. I feel like we put people up so fast without character. I think the main key is, yes, accountability, and also be honest with yourself. What kind of character do we have? Do you work hard? Do you have a personal time with God? How do you study? What's your mindset? What do you struggle with? Those character, I don't think we look at all when we hire a pastor. It's like, even right now, and look at the churches, even my church, like when they hire me, I wish they do all of that. But like, okay, but like, it was just like, oh, he's available. No interview, right? Just like, oh,
no
okay,
interview?
come. No
Wow,
interview.
okay.
I mean, I was there for 6 months already and they see me. Okay, mine was a different case. But
a little different.
even in the churches right now, not much interview. Even when they say interview, it's like, what do you believe? What do you think about ministry? Some churches, they don't do interview, and people who apply for the job, they're like, you got to ask me a question. Like, you should ask me this question. Some people have to say it because it's like that. It's like, oh, he's available. He just finished Bible school. He looked like he's good at teaching and he speaks English. He plays soccer. He's good at music.
Plays
Let's
soccer.
get him. Yeah. That's the qualification. I think we have to go all the way to the root. This conversation is going to be very long.
Yeah.
So this root, and this the way that we save face, this is the way we think about qualification of a pastors are so low.
Yeah.
And that what we get is the fruits that we see, that character issue, integrity issue, and accountability issue. So I don't know.
There's
I feel
so
like I'm
much
saying
that I feel like we have to like dive into, because accountability, there's so much, like there's so many factors that can go into it. And even just with our cultural context alone, like for example, accountability, like we know that we're kind of like what you said, basically is just to challenge one another to just make sure we obey the Lord. Let's just like short definition. But with our like with our context, there's just so many like cultural, like, and then also the way we do church is just so different from, like, for example, the American churches. Like when you were talking about it, one thing that popped up is usually for like American churches, it's usually pastors who plant churches, where it's like for us, it's like the members that plant a church, and then they just try to find a pastor. So even the way we do church like it's already just so opposite. And when you talked about just like character, and then we just like our standards or qualifications are really low, I think from what I've seen, the standard right now, especially for at least in the US, for US churches, is as long as they have a Bible degree. Like, as long as they have a Bible degree, we just trust that when they went to seminary or when they went to Bible school, that they were prepared.
Some churches don't even check what school they went to.
That's true. Or like they don't. Yeah, that is true.
Later they found out that they didn't even go to
like the same
Bible degree.
theology. Yeah. Or or it's like from a different country. No shade. Like, but so it's like I think with accountability too, and with everything that we've talked about, one thing that it's also like a problem on top of accountability is because since we have such low standards of qualifications for a pastor, we invite someone who just like freshly graduated, someone who just freshly finished Bible school to pastor a church. And then they have no training whatsoever. And then I guess I didn't know this, but some don't even do interviews, so they don't even get to know them as a person. And
they know their uncles is in church,
or like maybe their grandpa was a pastor or a well-respected guy. But and I think one thing from my experience too, like from my school experience, you can know so much about the Bible, you can know so much about theology. That does not mean
even the devil knows the
exactly theology. But that does not mean a person necessarily like bears the fruit or applies it. Like, and we think that, we just assume, which like rightfully so, because it's like if you go to Bible school, it makes sense why people would assume you would know about the Bible, right? But then we just say, okay, he or she, they just finished Bible school, they should be prepared, so let's just use them. But like, no, we have to go further than that. Like, do they bear the fruits of just like the word of God? Or do they have a good prayer life? You know, everything that you were just saying, I think we definitely need to, as a church, first have better standards, or not better, higher standards, have biblical standards. And then maybe that can also just make us have a good, not like fresh start, but just a start of like working towards making sure that even the people that we hire to be in leadership positions, that they're actually ready. So then when they do have to be held accountable, they're not defensive. They're like, okay, no, like I hear you, I see you. As a leader, I do want to be better. But now, even if we were to hold someone like our leader accountable, I think they're just going to get defensive. And if anything, they might just get hurt too.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, once you hire them as a pastor, you don't fire them. You hire, you don't fire.
Another shirt, another merch.
Yes. That's how changers are. Unless he quit, or unless he really wanna like leave the church, then he goes. But you don't usually fire. We're talking about how we do church. So now you talk about how we have mistrust and everything. That's just the fruit of it. It's the bottom of lines, how we do church and even how many mistakes he make, even if he's lazy, even if he's that and that, you don't fire them. We can talk so much about the church, right? But from our own mindset, I think this is what happened. People, even the leaders, they only like to hang out with the people who agree with them. They only like to hear from the people who like them and who worship them. They don't want to hear from the people who don't like them. I think that's very, very destructive. And because you need to hear from people who don't like you. You need to learn to listen and hear from them, and that way you change your way of life. Now, we don't like accountability because when you say, oh, you got to keep me accountable, you got to help me out and stuff like that, that means you will hear what you don't want to hear. A lot of people don't want to do that. Even especially the pastors, especially leaders. I think we need to learn to do that better.
Yeah, I think it comes so just like accountability. I think first off, it has to come from a personal understanding that if a friend is actually trying to keep you accountable, it's coming out of love. And if anything, if you truly love the Lord and you actually want to grow, you will be open to being held accountable. So I think it definitely has to start from us, like within to want to be held accountable. I think in my personal life, that's something that I've been trying to practice on. Because even though we're the younger generation, like I know we talk a lot about it, like we're young, so we want to be held accountable, but practically, even though we're young, like I feel like a lot of us, we do struggle with being held accountable too, just as much as our elders struggle with it, if we're being real. And so I think for me, that's something that I've been trying to practice the past year, where it's like there's a sin that I'm really, really struggling with. It's okay, I need to open up to someone about this, or else it's really gonna kill my spiritual life. And I love God too much for me to allow to get to that point in life. So if the hard thing, I guess, is to open up to someone, I should be willing to do that. And I think so first it has to start, I think it's just personal understanding. And then if you get asked to hold someone else accountable, you also have to know how to do it. Like you can't just attack, I can't just be like, Siavan, like, why did you do this and this? Why did you preach this? That hurt. Like, you can't just come out just attacking someone, because they're not going to hear you. I think we also need to know how to like communicate, like especially our like in the Chin context, just communication, we're very rough in the way that we speak, just in general, not even accountability, like just the way we speak, we're very rough with one another. Like we're not a culture of like affectionate language, like that is very foreign to us. So I think if you get asked, or if we do want to start holding our leaders accountable, we also, as members or even I guess elders of the church or whoever is supposed to keep the pastors accountable, they also have to know how to do that. So like a question that I would have for you is like, as a pastor, how would you want to be held accountable? Like
from the members,
not even like, well, so I guess this has to do with church structure, because then it's like, if we go back one step, like who's supposed to hold the pastor accountable? Because I know like in when Paul talks about the church, he talks about like the elders, right? Like elders are supposed to keep the leaders accountable.
Yeah.
But like I'm not an elder at the church. So then who so I guess who is supposed to keep the pastors, our leaders, accountable? And two, as a pastor, how would you like to be held accountable? Or what's the biblical way?
That's why Paul is for, and a lot of churches are for, plural elders, right? Plural elders as in other pastors and other leaders. So the church elders are supposed to keep the pastor accountable to, how he does ministry, how he preach, the words that he say, how he act, how he live. My church, I think the pastor does have to, like, it does come from the heart of the pastor.
Yeah.
He does have to open up himself.
Yeah.
Being vulnerable, right? He does say, guys, like, I preached my sermon. How was it tonight? How was it today? Right? So is there anything that I'm lacking? Can you guys tell me? So we have to come from a heart of like humility. And my church people, like I said, I tell them, this is what I want, this is what I'm thinking. So what do you guys think? I ask them, and if they say, well, we feel like this has been happening with you, we want the pastor to do this more. So they open up to me. They open up in the meeting. And it's hard to take it. It's hard to take it. But I do believe the elders, I think that's where, the elders have to know the Bible, and they have to love their pastor enough to really say, wow, I wish you could lead like this. But the thing is, here's what I'm going to say. It might be a little bit different from what you just said. I think whoever is open for accountability, I think whatever words come from the other person, I think they will listen with a heart of humility. There isn't anybody who really know how to communicate. And whenever there's a rebuke or challenge come in, it's always hard to hear, especially just if you think you're that good. But if you have a heart of humility, like whoever, right, even a stranger, even this person that you don't feel like it doesn't really matter in my church kind of type, even if he says something, you give it to your heart and you're like, that's something for me to learn. I think it does come from this person's heart, an open heart. So it's the elders, and they have to hold the Bible, and they have to be praying. That's the thing too. Do we have elders who pray? Do we have elders who love the Bible? Do we have elders who love the pastor enough to really say, Pastor, I think this is what you should do. This is what is according to the Bible. And please. This is all. If you want to, I don't think I wanted to go this this direction, but like it's very messy if you really think about it.
Yeah.
The elders are not there. Watch this. Okay, example. If a pastor, they see him drinking, he has a habit of drinking. Okay, hey, let's just say, okay, you have a habit of drinking, and if the elders are also drinking, who's gonna keep each other accountable? Nobody.
No one.
If they go and visit him, tell him, he's like, you too.
Yeah.
And then if he go and rebuke them, they'll be like, you too. They were like, well, let's not just talk about it, right?
Yeah.
Let's just not talk about it at all. So they will totally not preach about that part from the pulpit. They will not be bringing up in the meeting anymore. And then done with that.
Yeah.
And if the elders don't even read the Bible or know the Bible, then how are they going to rebuke a pastor with some sin that has been in his life? How are they going to do that? They can't. He'll be like, I have a higher authority than you. Like as we go back to that. How dare you? So it just comes back to it. So it's the whole church. All right, and the whole system, and also especially as a pastor, as a shepherd, who has been called by God, anointed by God, he has to be humble enough to say, "Here I am, guys. Please serve me as I serve you. Right? Serve me by challenging me. Serve me by telling me what I don't want to hear, but I need to hear." I think it has to come from the heart too.
And then praying too. Like if you're not at that maturity level where you can openly challenge your pastor, at least pray for them. Do we really pray for our pastors? Or like when we see a pastor fail, or we see, I know I used the word fail, let's just say fall. I don't want to say fail, but when we see pastors or leaders fall, I feel like most of us were so quick to just we're low key happy that they fail. We're low key happy that people fall into sin. and then we talk about it. We're and if we're being really honest, I think it also comforts us, because we're wait, our pastors, someone that I've looked up to is also failing too. Comforts us. And then we just talk about it and that's it. But do we pray for them? Do you really pray for your pastor? One thing I know, this still ties in with accountability, but because we're talking a lot about the church, and I feel like that itself could be a whole different conversation, just the church system. But when it comes to accountability, and then when we were talking about how when we invite someone to be a pastor of the church, we don't really have let's just say good qualifications. So then we get very I don't want inexperienced leaders coming to lead a church. And what I see a lot, maybe it's just me, I don't know, is I see our leaders, I'm just generalizing, okay?
Yeah.
I see our leaders kind of abusing their power, their authority, their status to get whatever they want. It can be, this can be for any area. Okay. But I think I see that a lot too. And then it just ends up in hurt, I think, especially as a community. Yeah.
I think us Chin people, chin to chin, we trust too easily. The Bible said to be wise. The Bible say love each other, forgive each other, all of that command, but the Bible never really say trust each other. Do you know that? It said trust in the Lord, fear God. Yep. But the Bible never said to trust each other that fast and naively. So I think hiring process, if a Caucasian pastor or a black pastor come and apply for a job in the Chin church, you gotta go through everything about him. You're oh, what degree did he get? Does he preach well? Can he speak this and that? And can he communicate with the youth or our people? How it's gonna be? You do a lot of research. You will do that. But when a Chin pastor apply for it, you're oh, we know his uncle,
we know his dad,
we know his family. Yeah, and then we're all right, let's get him. I don't think that's healthy either. So I think it starts from the hiring process to the leadership position to the church members, not praying for their pastor too, and not keeping him accountable in that way. And that's not really a church. Yeah, I think a church is where you challenge each other, exalt each other, right? And kind of push each other to grow and make disciple. Because of leaders, our fault that people will not really trust leadership or not trust the church. And if you have been hurt by the church, I'm sorry. And but God has never hurt you. It's the people. And so give God the chance and just go back to church and see how God can redeem you and redeem other people too. And secondly, I think we got to do better. As a church, we have to do better. As church member, we have to do better. As church leaders, we have to do better. We're not gonna just slacking about this anymore. We should really put something in place to keep each other accountable. And that pastor, I think I want to address to some people who might be listening. We have to be humble enough, really humble. It's so hard. It is so hard. But like we really have to be humble enough to ask for feedbacks, even from your sermon, because a lot of people might not like your sermon. Even the way you talk, a lot of people might have problems.
Even the way you walk.
Like go ask. Even the way you dress.
Yeah.
You know, ask. Humble enough to ask those things. Those little things will build up and they'll keep you accountable for greater things. Even your youth, you don't have to look perfect. You don't have to like all knowing and stuff, but it's okay, right? But ask for feedback and let them help you, let them challenge you, that you are not above them, you are with them, and you're growing too as a human, as a follower of Christ. I think that mindset we really have to instill in our hearts, that we're not there yet either, and we're imperfect people. But if we keep on putting ourselves as if we're like perfect and good and like all the time, and not show our vulnerability, that means people are not going to see that. And when we fall, or when something that happened to us that they don't really expect, they're like, whoa, like him? Like, huh?
Yeah.
Right? So even those little things, I think it really matters. So I don't know. Maybe
That's
you
really
want to close
good.
with something.
Yeah, I think like as of now, I think it just really starts with us. Whether you're a leader or just a member, a follower, you're the one being shepherd. Like it just really starts with us, because like we talked so much about like our church system. Like it's gonna take a long time to fix, to undo so many things.
Yeah.
So while we're in that process,
Yeah.
let's just start with ourselves. Even if you're a leader, if you're a member, and I think for someone who is being ministered to, who do look up to people, who has experienced so much hurt too, I think one thing I really learned is, yes, of course, we do have to have expectations with our leaders, but don't let like your expectation at the end of the day should always be in God, because like, sorry, your pastor is a human being. He's gonna fall short. Like, I don't even know what chapter it, but it's like God tells us like we all fall short to the glory of God, and it says
I think it's
all.
Romans 3:23. If I'm wrong, because I fall short.
Good backup. And it doesn't say like pastors don't fall short. It says we all fall short. So that includes everyone that's a Christian.
Yeah.
And because of that, once you start putting so much hope and expectation in your pastor, in your leader, when they do fall short, because it's not if they will to, and it doesn't have to be like a big thing. Right. It can be the smallest little thing. You're going to get hurt. And at the end of the day, you can't even really blame them. Because that was your expectation that you put upon yourself. And so really like humility, we talk a lot about that, and just really, I would say, have your own intimate relationship with God. Like you cannot, like, yes, your pastor is the one that's supposed to shepherd you, but if you don't have that direct relationship with God, like that's not going to be the thing that's going to keep you going every single day. Right. The only thing that's going to keep you going every single day is your personal walk with Jesus. Yeah. And so I would just really like to encourage, especially I'm sure your guys' audience is like the young people. Yeah. Like to young people, like don't put so much hope in your leaders. Like, yes, have expectation, but you shouldn't put all of your expectation, all of your hope in them. Yeah. Have your own relationship with God, work on that. And let's start from us. Let's keep one another accountable. Amen. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. We appreciate that. We might do another talk. So God bless you guys. And look for accountability. Yeah. Humble yourself. God will take care of you. All right. Bye. Guys.